You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here. Now be sure to watch Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV by subscribing on YouTube and following them on social media for all the latest Leicester City news and information. Come on you foxes!
Back of the net.
You're watching Leicester Till I Die TV.
Watch us on YouTube.
Listen on your favourite podcast platform
Or ask your smart speaker.
to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Subscribe, like, follow, and join in now.
Right, Chris.
All right there, all right at the back. How the devil are we? It's been ages, absolutely ages. And thank you for joining us. And I've got to say, you are so much nicer than last week's audience. Yes, how many other catchphrases can I pinch? Oh, plenty, I'll tell you, plenty. This is, of course, a Leicester Till I Die TV. And we are live, and everything that could go wrong tonight is going wrong. Let me just tell you that. If you were with us earlier, you would have seen myself and Craig struggling to get everything working. You see, this is what happens when you put old folks in front of a camera. Nothing ever works, as indeed it isn't at the moment. So it is X on the Pitch show tonight, and I'm just having a look to see if I can find what I need to play. It will be here somewhere. You know, it went so well earlier. He says not. Oh dear, here we go. So tonight we're going to be looking at Patson Daka. What a player we could have there. Norwich City, and I was going to be asking the question why. And poor old Man United. You know, you've got to laugh, haven't you? You have if you're Leicester. It is Leicester Till I Die TV. This is where you can watch us live. And, of course, listen to us live. Well, not listen to us live, because if you're listening to us on the podcast, we will be on catch-up. X on the Pitch, as I say, the Conservative Women's Association's top totty is back with us again. I'm running out of organisations, Julian. Welcome along.
You some through in the week.
X Fox Julian Watts. Good evening, sir. How the devil are you?
I'm very good, Chris. And you?
Yeah, not so bad. Thank you very much. I'd be better if I knew how I was doing on here. I didn't have my right videos loaded up or anything. But have you seen the Conservative ladies recently?
Not for a while, but I have been meaning to catch up with them for some time, so I'll make that a priority this week.
Well, apparently they've got some calendars that they want you to sign. You would not know the lengths to which I have been to try and find that. You are lucky. You are lucky. There's nowhere, not one to be found anywhere, unfortunately. But
I think I bought the last 1,000.
Is it like a scene from The Full Monty where he goes out and buys all the papers and puts it in the bin? Do you remember what month you were?
I don't know why I'm going to say June, but I'm not sure.
I was thinking of December with a couple of strategically placed baubles. Hopefully not Holly, of course. That would be a bit. Tonight we've got a few things. We're going to start off and looking at this gentleman. Well, what isn't there left to say about him? I've put there Norwich City. What's the point? Exactly. And Manchester United, what's going wrong? And if anybody's got any questions at the end, please stick them in the chat as we go along. And if we've got time at the end, we'll put a few to Julian. But let's start with, 4 goals in one game, some assists. He set up Maddison for the second at the weekend. Patson Daka. What a player.
Yeah, I think my only surprise from him, obviously, when a player signs for the club, you get to see lots of highlights of what he's been doing. And obviously, his time at Leipzig was extremely productive. And I'm just surprised he's not featured more, if I'm honest. He's got the pace. He seems to have got the composure. And I just think he'd have been given more game time initially than he has done. Obviously scored the 4 goals in the European trip, which was absolutely fantastic. Took the goals well. And then we see his maturity at the weekend when he's through and he's got I don't know what it is. I know a lot of strikers who would have tried to put that one in, and he just sees the certain goal and lays it to one side to Maddison. So unselfish.
Obviously, you wouldn't have passed that, would you?
No. I'm sure I'd have missed, but I'd at least had a go myself. But it just shows that at 23, I think he is quite a bit of maturity and quite a bit of composure on the pitch, and that's what I really like about him.
And like you say, I think Vardy in that position against Brentford would have probably shot himself, but in fairness, he probably would have scored. Not going to say that, I guess. But I think the problem is a lot of fans have been saying, why are we buying these players and then not playing them? But I suppose the thing is, I don't know whether do you think you could play him and Vardy together? To me, they're too similar.
No, and again, something that's good about him is that for me, he looks like that eventual replacement for Vardy. He does what Vardy does. He likes to get in behind, and he constantly wants to get in behind, and that's all Vardy's done all of his career, and obviously been fantastic at it. And Patson looks like he's exactly the same player. Obviously, he's got a few years to go before he can sort of match, what Jamie's done. But they've signed someone. It's like they've got a game plan, and we're sticking to similar players to what we've already got because we know that works in this league, and that's where he sort of mirrors what Jamie does. Obviously, a lot younger, will learn a lot. But no, I don't see them playing together, if I'm honest. But I can see he sort of linked up well with Nacho, and and obviously then in the European game as well as the second half at the weekend. So whether he could play up front on his own like Vardy could, I'm not sure if he could yet. But he seems to be linking up with other players really well.
And what we said was why isn't he getting more game time? But from what we've said there, you're saying that you got to drop Jamie Vardy, whether that's in a 2 with Iheanacho or on his own. And I suppose the difficulty is, unless he's particularly injured, which he was obviously, in the first half at Brentford, he came off at half time. But unless he's injured or suspended, how can you drop Jamie Vardy? The argument always would be, and I've always said, it's the player on form that deserves to be in. But with Jamie Vardy, is a bit like Gary Lineker. You keep him on the pitch for 90 minutes, he does nothing for 89, and then gets you the winner in the 90th.
You do, and I don't think Jamie often has bad games. He's quite consistent in the way he plays. So, you are going to play him week in, week out, knowing, what he's got in the locker. I just think with Patson, it'd be a thing of, this is the point where they can look at giving Jamie less game time to benefit the squad and the team in the fact that, you're resting him a bit more. You're not stretching him for 90 minutes where, I've talked about his age and I don't think he's really slowed down a lot, but things like your hamstrings and stuff like that for players who are quick, you get to an age and you can't really push yourself as much as you used to when you were younger. And I think this is the perfect opportunity if Daka keeps showing, the potential that he is at the moment and scoring the goals and putting the performances in where, maybe after 60, 70 minutes and we're 1 or 2 up, it's a perfect time to bring Vardy on and keep Daka's progression going really well, which is what it's doing at the moment.
I keep saying every season, this is probably Jamie's last season of playing regularly, and he keeps sort of, saying, "Get lost, Chris." Look, just watch me go. And I do think at some point, because I think it will come down to a point where, if Jamie's not getting regular game time, and it's not the fact that, he's bad or anything like that, but it is just his age will eventually, I think, catch up on him. And like you say, injuries as well. When he's injured now, I've noticed it's that bit longer for him to come back.
I think what we would see if Daka's the answer, and if he, like I say, he looks a fantastic player, and if he continues to progress and do what he's been doing in the last few weeks, and he can build on that, I think all you'll see is the game time shifting between less for Jamie, and this could happen over 6 months, a year, 18 months, depending how long Jamie's fit for and how long he can keep playing at the level that he's playing. And all you'll see is then it'll be a bit of a swap over, and eventually you'll get to a point where Daka starts and Jamie becomes his understudy. But I still think he'd be a great understudy, to bring on in the last 30 minutes of a game, and that's where he may see himself if he doesn't want to drop down or if he wants to finish his career at Leicester. I just think you'll see that tip from where it is now over the other side, so where Daka's getting more game time. But like I say, that could be a year off. I don't think Jamie's looking. He still looks like he's got that fire in his belly. He's got that anger. That he's chasing, that aggression, chasing players down, still scoring goals. Like I say, I don't think any of us know how long it will go on for, but it's not going to be over anytime soon. But it looks like this could be a perfect opportunity to progress for the team.
I sort of see him, and to be fair, Mark Albrighton pretty much doing the same, because, Mark Albrighton's in a position where, again, he's getting on a little bit, God bless him. But can you imagine those players coming on, with 15, 20, you're a defender. You've played against a team for sort of 70 minutes. The striker goes off, and you look over and it's Jamie Vardy walking on the pitch. You're going to sort of go, "Oh my God, please, no, aren't you?"
Yeah, your afternoon's just got a little bit worse, and you think about like you say with Albrighton and Vardy. If they came on late in games, their game management will be absolutely critical. So you might have a younger squad, and you're bringing on a couple of players like that to close a game down when you're winning 1-0 and you need to see the game out. So, like I say, I still think that's a way off. It might be, like I say, maybe end of this season, beginning of next season. You can see that cycle coming, but right now, Daka's in the perfect position where he's going to learn off someone very similar to him, in a great atmosphere, in a really good squad. And we talk about the club, and I know we're all biased, but it is a great club to be at, and I'm sure he's going to thrive in that kind of atmosphere.
Like you say, it all depends really, I suppose, where Jamie sees his future. Does he drop down? But even, I suppose, if you drop down to the Championship, it's not going to necessarily be easier for him, because in a lot of ways it's a harder league. There's more games because there's more people, more teams in there. But like you say, does he want to drop down, or does he? He just bought a club in America, or he jointly bought a club in America. Is he going to go over there and maybe sort of play a little bit over there? So I suppose it is down to him on where he seems to want to go. But he's had his chance to leave. I think he's proved sort of how much he loves the club.
Yeah, and I think he seems to be quite level-headed about some of the decisions he's made. In particular, I totally understood why he resigned from the England team. At the moment, if England are playing one of the top teams in the world in a competition, Harry Kane is going to start. You could be travelling all over Europe, all over the world, knowing you're not going to start. And I think that's demoralising for any player. And I think he's thought about that. He's got a family and everything, and thought, why do I need to do that? And some people won't understand that, thinking, well, you're an England international, you can get a few more caps, but it must be very, very, demoralising. And for me personally, I think he should be vying with Kane because of what he can offer differently. Could they play together with Kane as a number 10? But, obviously those conversations haven't happened. And he's, like I say, quite level-headed in making that decision, and, probably correctly in my mind. And I think, like you've said, with this investment in the club in America, that for me would be perfect exit. I don't think he's the type of player who'd want to drop down to another club in England. I think he'd like to finish his English career at Leicester. Like I say, I think it'll go on. It'll definitely go on beyond this season, possibly to the end of next season, and who knows after that. But I think there comes a decision where does he go over there and maybe play a year or two over there, or does what he wants to do with that club. But time will tell. But he seems to sort of know what path he's on.
He is level-headed, and I think a lot of the decision with the England one was the fact that Roy Hodgson never used to play him in the right position. He seemed to play him as a left winger, and I think that was probably him down to the decision for him not to go to Arsenal either, because I don't think there's no point, I don't think, in buying a player just because of who they are. Because if they're not going to fit into your plans, you're just going to be warming the bench, aren't you? And, so if he'd gone to Arsenal, would he have been starting as a striker every week? I don't think he would have been.
No, I don't as well. And, I know we're going to touch on Man United later. And I said this last week, the thing with Greenwood, for me, he's a striker. But because he's a good player, they're fitting him into the team. Is that the right thing to do? I don't think it is. I don't think it is for the lad's development. Rashford was a striker. Now, I don't think anyone sees him as a striker. He plays either side of the striker because he sort of got forced out there. And obviously, you've got, Ronaldo and Cavani who aren't going to play in those positions. So they're sort of getting farmed out, playing slightly out of position. When really they shouldn't be. Greenwood could probably grace half the Premier League's teams as a striker, and Jamie Vardy for that definitely would not want to be in any of those other positions. He's very clever and he thrives on being the shoulder of that last defender and just making those runs in behind, and he loves scoring. So why would you take yourself out of that? So I think he's definitely made the right decision staying at Leicester, because he knows that he is going to start every week in the role that he wants to start in.
And looking at Patson, and I mean, what I see in Leicester is a team that is actually looking ahead. Because we know we've been calling out for an extra striker for a couple of seasons now, but they brought Patson in, who isn't the finished article by any means, which is it's great because you think what he can be when he's the finished article, but he's there ready to take over, a bit like Soyuncu with Harry Maguire. And some of the young players that are coming through as well. They're there ready. Chilwell left, Luke Thomas almost just sort of, you wouldn't have noticed any difference. It's a good thing that we seem to do that as a club.
Yeah, and I know we've spoken before about the recruitment of the club, and I think it's fantastic the way they're bringing players through the academy. The facilities down there are amazing, but also the players that they're bringing in, and they encouraged and persuaded Tielemans to choose us over Man United, and we didn't pay top dollar for him. It was like a reasonable fee, and he's been worth every last penny of it. Like you say, Luke Thomas, JJ. All these players who've come in, Soyuncu, Fofana, and then Daka as well, and you've got Nacho, who seems to thrive in that too. And again, that's something we've changed in the last few weeks. We've talked a lot about settling on a formation this season, and they've now gone back to this back three, albeit with a number 10, which is fine, and it seems to be working from them, on all fronts. So. That's a big step forward. And with that is a front two, which suits Nacho, who, like we've said, when he plays with another striker, he's quite a formidable player. It's just that he couldn't do it on his own.
Yeah. I mean, Patson Daka, I mean, he's obviously been he was at Red Bull Salzburg from sort of 2017, played 82 times, scored 54 goals. That's not a bad return, really, is it?
No, it's phenomenal, and I think they won a few titles while he was there, which is fantastic. Yeah. And Leipzig, they are a team who bring through players. They've got a good reputation for it, and he's another one that's come through and done well, and obviously straight away gets picked up. And again, we've paid probably the right money if he turns out to be the player that we think he is.
I do kind of worry a little bit, because we tend to buy, and nothing against them, obviously they're fantastic players, but we're buying a lot of African players at the moment. And you've got, come sort of, is it January when you've got the African Cup of Nations? And you look at the players that we could potentially lose, Daka, Inacho. I mean, two of your three strikers, if they're in form and picked, have gone straight away.
Yeah, and I'm sort of surprised with the African Nations Cup that there isn't something in the season where, where they don't either alter their schedule or we don't make our schedule a bit more accessible, where we can, maybe a break for a week. Or, I mean, we've talked long, about a winter break, and could you match it in with that? It does seem a shame. And like you say, if you've got a couple of the lads who are going to go over there for that tournament, then straight away it depletes your squad, and hopefully that's something the club have, and I'm sure it is, that they've thought about, and and have got a plan B.
And it's not just, in fairness, it's not just Leicester. There's so many clubs that, I mean, you know, I suppose I don't know whether it's weather planned or what. I mean, you know, with our Euros and what have you, but and also, in fairness, you've then got the Copa America. You know, it is as a team, you expand and you get these fantastic players from around the globe. That is something that you need to sort of take into account. He's played at every level for Zambia as well, under 17s, under 20s, and the full team. Not quite. I mean, it is more difficult to score, I think, at national level than it is sort of maybe at, local, team level. 27 games for Zambia, 7 goals. I don't know whether anything should be read into that at all.
No, I mean, I think that's a good return because, Zambia aren't one of the better teams. And if you're not playing in one of the better teams, it is hard, goals are harder to come by. So, probably seems a good record, one in every 3 or so, or 3.5 games. It's not a bad return at all. But yeah, it would be a shame, if we did lose the players. And like I say, it's hopefully something that, with the club, and like I say, I'm sure they do think about these things and plan them in. But I suppose it'd be interesting for quite a few of the top teams in the league who will lose players.
Talking of losing players, something that's always in my mind is when we buy a player is, okay, how long are we going to have him for? Man United have already been linked with Fofana as soon as he's back from injury. Patson Daka, are we going to have him for a couple of seasons? Then he moves on. I suppose that depends on how we develop as a club and what sort of success we have. But as a financial side, it's not a bad position to be in because we are making huge profit on these players. But it just seems, and we've touched on the recruitment a lot, but these bigger teams don't like to seem to want to take the gamble on the younger players.
No, they don't, and I do think that's what we do well. But then, the downside of it is if we've done our homework on the young players and it turns out to be as good as we think he's going to be, then they soon can be snapped up. And all you would hope, and it seems like what we have done over the last few years, is we've had the next young player lined up for when the young player's done well and moves on to pastures new. It seems like they're doing a great job in already thinking about, well, if he improves in the next 2 years, who are we looking at? And there must be so much work that goes into this. And I think, like, for me, I've always said the best deal we ever did was Maguire to Man U and bringing in Johnny Evans. What a turnaround in cash and what Johnny cost and what he's brought to the team. Just a quiet, unassuming, goes about his job in a fantastic way. Great influence, on the players around him, particularly the young centre halves who we've brought in as well. And that's just worked out, fantastically. So, yeah, like I say, I think they get it right all the time. Right now, we just seem to be that club that, we will at the right price, and the right price is nearly always, a vast sum of money. I think if Tielemans did leave it, it's got to be, if you're looking at, Declan Rice and they're talking more than 100 million, for me, Tielemans, all right, take De Bruyne out of the conversation.
Yeah.
I think he's probably the best box-to-box midfielder in the Premier League and would grace any team. So, you've got to be talking big money for him. And as a club, do we take that money and bring the next one in at 2030? I think that's probably where we are, even if we wouldn't like to think that's the case. But I think that's probably where we are at the moment.
Every player has his price. Excuse me. Every player has his price if the price is right, so to speak. And I think with Tielemans, you'd be looking at 100 million plus. As a player, when they've gone to Daka and they're talking, will you come and sign for us, and showing him around, telling him what we've got, would they say to him, look, this is the plans we've got for you. You're not going to get in the team straight away because we've got Jamie Vardy, etc. I suppose they're not going to make promises they can't keep, but like Fofana, he never expected to be thrown in the team the way he was. But, Patson Daka's gone from Salzburg, where he was a regular, playing probably every single game, that they wanted him to almost, if you like, an understudy. Is that explained to you when you sign in?
Yeah, I mean, it's different now than it is then, with the money and whatever and what they can bring in. But of course, I think with Daka, the conversation would obviously, really obviously would have been, Jamie Vardy, great servant to the club, still scoring goals, come and learn from him. we'll bring you on development wise with the coaching and what have you. Facilities are amazing. It's the Premier League. Keep going on the path you're going, and you will get an opportunity. And I think that's probably enough for any young striker in an Austrian league team. And I think players, particularly coming to Leicester, will think that they have got an opportunity, that they will be playing sooner than if they went somewhere else. And I think that was the case with Tielemans, who turned down Man United, or so it was reported, and then you can look at and point to Fofana and say, well, he came, as cover, a few injuries, and he's in the team doing well, and then everybody's after him. Luke Thomas again, the same. JJ, they've come in and been absolutely fantastic, and they're going to be linked with other clubs. But yeah, the situation will definitely be spoke about. But I think Leicester, moreover than the other teams, the top sort of 3, 4, 5, 6 that we call them normally, you'd think a player would prefer to come to Leicester thinking that he's going to have more game time. And the classic one for me, and we will touch on it later, definitely is Van der Beek at Man United. I just think what a waste of a transaction, and what a waste of a season out of a player's life.
Hello.
Hello.
I apologise profusely there. I'm trying to message you quickly on there. I got a lot of strange noise, and then I disappeared. And
I've just ordered a pizza and had a glass of red, so it's all right.
I'm so, I don't know. I literally had to unplug my computer and plug it all back in and load everything up again. So, did you say something that it didn't like by any chance?
I don't know.
Oh, I do apologise. I did say at the start, didn't I? This show goes off all in one piece. It will be amazing. But yeah, I think we just talked, haven't we? I think about bringing people in ready, and like you say, it is discussed with them. They know where they are when they come in, and like you say, I suppose there is the pull of the Premier League, isn't there? And Leicester now, sometimes probably we put ourselves down that people will look at Leicester and say, yeah, they have won the Premier League, and yes, they have won the FA Cup. And it is, a good team to go to.
Yeah, of course it is. We talk every week. The club's a great club, and it's got that feel to it. And like I say, all the young ones that have come in, and last season in particular, got the opportunity probably far sooner than they expected to. And that's a great example for anyone you're signing who wants an example of where his career path might be if he comes to Leicester, as opposed to, again, we'll use Man United as the obvious example with, a wealth of talent on the bench, or a couple 100 million on the bench, and they're not getting any game time, and it's not helping their careers full stop. So I think Leicester's an attractive proposition for any particularly young player, thinking that they're going to get a chance, and they're going to get improvement and the chance to play on the biggest stage in the world.
We will quickly now then move on, and let's hope we just get Patson Daka for a few years and enjoy him and make the most of him while we've got him. We will come on to the second topic straight after. He says this is also so badly, but straight after this, you may recognise this guy.
Aye, all right, Chris. This is Neil Razor Ruddock here. No, you're huge. A Leicester City fan. You run the website, Facebook, the Twitter site, Leicester Till I Die. That's what you are, Chris. Leicester Till I Die. I'm Leicester Till I Die. Anyway, Chris, well done for doing all the hard work for Leicester City. All the best, son. Neil Razor Ruddock. Aye, Chrissy. Aye.
I think he's been down the 19th hole with you, hasn't he?
He's had more wine than I've had tonight. So
when doesn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
He's up there with what she called that owns Norwich City. Smith, isn't it? But leading on to Norwich, sorry, it always makes me laugh. It always makes me laugh. Leading on to Norwich, and I'm sorry, Terry, yes, your question did survive. I have still got your question. Thank you very much. Norwich City, and last few games, there's a couple of scores in there that none of us would want to see as fans against our team. 5-0 to Man City, 7-0 to Chelsea. And it's not like a Southampton where it's, once a season or not even that when it happens. But I thought there, sort of, what's the point? But then when I started to think about it, thinking, am I starting to sound like a Man United? Am I starting to sound like a Liverpool, with the Super League? We don't want these other clubs coming in. But surely if you could, to come up and go down and come up and go down, but when they go down, they're going down without a whimper.
I can only think that from their point of view, they see themselves as a family club. They don't want to, outlay, as some clubs did historically, big money on big players, and then which leads them then into financial trouble. So I'm sure that when they come up, they go back down. They get, they get the money that helps them when they get relegated, like the bubble payment, and then they come back up. And I suppose as a club, they're probably quite a wealthy club, and they're just managing that situation. But it's got to the point where it does really seem a little bit ridiculous, where, it's like, have the club got any ambition? Are they happy to see that? I mean, I'm glad they've kept hold of the manager. He's obviously got something about him, but I think this season in particular and the weekend's performance against Chelsea really stood out as they were just so far away as professional footballers. You wouldn't have wanted to have been on the pitch with a Norwich shirt on. It was a bit awkward and a bit embarrassing. They were sort of miles away from it. They didn't press well together, didn't string passes together, real basic errors. And it's starting to look, for me, like a bit of a shambles. And you wouldn't want, as a player, to be involved in that. It's, you want to be able to, I go back a lot to when we came up in the 90s, and we even when we lost with a fight. We were hard to play against. We might have come up, and we did come up against some great teams and some great players, but we still gave 100. But it wasn't for the lack of trying. And for me now with Norwich, it just seems like, even at this early stage, and it's all likelihood that they will get relegated, but it's like they've already accepted relegation. There's none of this of going as long as you can and we can still get out of it. It's like, well, we're going to get relegated, and they're going through the motions. And I'm sure that's not the case with professional footballers, but it certainly looked like that against Chelsea in particular.
And I mean, even in the Great Escape year of us, we were losing week after week, but we were putting up fights. I just can't. It's like a boxer on the ropes, just taking a pounding week after week. I mean, if we look, last time they were up was 2019-20. And they came bottom, won 5, got 21 points. Before that, there was 2015-16. They were 19th and 34 points. But maybe they did sort of do a bit better. Villa were bottom that time. 2013-14, 18th with 35 points. I mean, even when they were getting relegated before, at least they were seeing, they were getting, into the 30s. The last couple of times, it's like, I just think there's clubs that come up, like, you look at Brentford this season, and they've come up and they're giving it a go. And, you know, I know they want to sort of go bust or whatever, but, you know, buy some players, put up a fight, because the way I'm looking at it is, and like I say, I'm trying not to, what's what I'm looking for? Don't want to sort of spend the money, but you just want to sort of think that the club's going to come up and make an effort. And there's going to be clubs that aren't coming up that could probably put up a better fight. Say Brentford this season, Leeds United, Sheffield United, both came up and gave it a go. And then you've got Norwich. Like I said, I don't want to sound like I'm like I say, a Man United, fan or a Liverpool fan or whatever, and kill them off. But I just want to see teams come up. I want to see them do well. I'm loving Brentford doing well.
Yeah, and I think, I think myself, I've got to the point, I think you sort of look at it for a few seasons and just say, it's really nice. They've kept the manager. He's got them back up. Whoa, they've gone back down again. That's unfortunate. This is the season, as I've just said, where it looks a lot worse than that. It looks, they're already thinking about the Championship next year and not could they possibly stay up, where you would know that other clubs would come up with it with plenty more ambition. And maybe this is the year where, they sort of scrap this idea with the manager. And I'm not saying he's a bad manager, but, Frank's come up with Brentford and he's not outlaid great deals of money, but, he seems to have put a team together that can survive in this league. And that is, you can see the influence on Brentford that the manager has. And right now, I can't see, the influence on Norwich that the manager's, giving to him. It's just like, we're going down without a fight every week. And, you don't really want to see that. So, I think there needs to be a change there. Like I say, the club's a family club and they've stuck by him for so long, which is great. But I think it does definitely need a change in tack now.
Terry says there, in between your shows, watched another stream. Their camera crashed. Must be StreamYard tonight. Well, not just me then. Not just me. Derby County. I mean, I'd hate for this record to be taken off Derby County, because I love the fact that Derby County got relegated with the least number of points ever. Just in case you're watching, Derby County fans, worst number of points ever in the Premier League, and that was 11. And in 2007-8, I'm going to be honest with you here. I can't see Norwich getting 11 points this season.
No, I can't. Like I say, it's like the fight's already left them. And you'd expect teams to be getting to Christmas and they might, still be in a bad place, but they'd still be going out every week and rolling the sleeves up. And then it just looks like that, as it's left the club. You can't see the fight in the manager. You can't see the fight in the players. And it's just really disappointing all around. And, it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't get to double figures. You'd like to think they would, but you can't see where the points are coming from. And, like you're looking at your Brentfords that have come up that are really performing well, that you think, they might be someone would nick a few points off. But, I can't see that this season. And, the top teams have all upped the game a bit. So the league's got stronger and they seem to have got weaker. So it looks like it's going to be another disastrous season for them. And then, what do they do next?
Yes. I mean, a few times ago, there were, even Watford beat them and Watford came up with them. And, they should know, having played them a couple of times last season, know a bit about them. And at Norwich, Watford beat them. Didn't keep the manager his job, of course, but even they did that. I don't know what to say. I mean, does Frank, is it his fault or is it the owners not giving him the money to spend, do you think?
Well, I would say so, because they don't see, they've lost a couple of players and not really replaced them. So unless they had a sparkling recruitment, a bit like what we have, bringing like the really young players in on low money, that if they did drop down to the Championship, the wages wouldn't be massive. You wouldn't have outlaid a lot of dollar for them in the first place, and they're the type of players they should be looking for. But I've not even seen any activity, in that respect to improve anything at all. So. It's just like they seem happy with this yo-yo existence, and the fans have always seemed to go along with it. But I am just wondering if this is the season where that all changes and there's a few opinions and attitudes go against what they've been doing in the last sort of 7 or 8 years.
Yeah. Delia Smith, I couldn't think of a name earlier. Let's be Avenue. We all remember that, don't we? Took lessons off Neil Ruddock with that. I think she did. I don't even think her running onto the pitch doing that again would would rouse this lot, to be honest with you, but I mean, like I say, they deserve the chance. Bless them. They've come up, and like I say, I'm all for this. No disrespect, smaller clubs coming up and doing well, but like I say, at least put up a fight. I mean, it wasn't so, so long ago. I mean, we just looked at the recent years, but 93, 94, they were 12th. 92, 93, which was their first season. Well, I think obviously that was around the time when the Premier League was formed, but they came third, and of course had a good run in Europe.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem too long ago. But having said that, we've seen with a lot of clubs, your Man Cities, Sunderland's, some really big clubs have been through, the wheels and dropped down a couple of divisions and come back up. But they've actually, Sunderland now just seem to be rebuilding. Man City dropped down. Obviously, there was a big sort of cash injection, but a lot of rebuilding there, and a few clubs have bounced back and made themselves strong again. But they just don't seem that kind of club. And I don't think anything's going to change. And I think, I sort of agree with you, Chris, in the fact that, if they went down, you probably wouldn't want them to come back up again next season.
No, because you want, it's obviously, as a fan, it's nice, like when we go and watch Southampton, beat them 9-0 and what have you. But you want some competition there, don't you? You want a bit of a fight. You want teams to make you want doing it. Otherwise, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but it must get boring watching your team win every week. But you know where I'm coming from, don't you? Yeah.
Like I say, I think that there's got to be a change in it, really. But it's like a given 3 points for most clubs, and they'll be coming away devastated if they don't get 3 points. Yeah. And it does seem. I mean, you've put it on, on the text. What is the point in them? And it's a really harsh sort of statement, but it seems it's quite fitting. At the moment, could someone else come up and really give it a go and make the league a bit more interesting? Whereas, at this moment in time, they're not. So, I'll have to just see how that one plays out. But obviously, there doesn't seem any chance whatsoever they're going to get anywhere near out of this trouble.
Do you think, as a club, and we've asked this last question before we move on, but clubs, and I can understand why, are a bit scared of going out and spending money? You look at what happened to Leeds. From where they were, they tried to live the dream, and you're up against teams. I mean, we think of ourselves as a rich club, but we're nowhere up there with the Man Cities, the Chelseas, or the Newcastles now. It must be scary and daunting for these smaller clubs.
It is, but I suppose it's how you manage it. So there was that. I know when O'Leary was in charge of Leeds, that I'm sure that season the reason they outlaid the money because they wanted Champions League football. They'd had a good season, and it was like, right, let's get into that top four, which they, seemingly they look like they'd be capable of. They spend the money, and then it's if you spend quite a lot of money and giving out 3-4 year contracts to players on big money. The issue is then when you go down and you can't really afford those wages. I don't think it's quite like that now, but then obviously you've got the other side of that where you can take loan players for a year, and maybe not an ideal scenario when you've got your the players that you currently at the club. But the only player they've taken, I think, is it the Brandon Williams, the wing back from Man United, who's he's played in the first team at Man United, but he's probably not anywhere near it. And he's he's in the first team there, and he's doing all right. But you'd think they'd be looking at a lone striker or a lone, somewhere down the middle of the team where you need to be strong, centre of the park, centre back, and that's for me where they're sort of lacking. They've not made any investment in those areas. And, as we all know, if, Loftus-Cheek, which I think is a great player, he's actually getting an opportunity at the moment at Chelsea, went and had a season on loan at Fulham. Do you look at players like that who are, they've been on the edge of the England team. They're at a very, very big club, which is perhaps why they're not getting the opportunities. Do you look at the Chelseas and the Man Uniteds and the Man Cities and think, I'm going to do you a favour, take one of your players for a season-long loan, but actually you're doing me a right favour because I'm getting a bit of quality above and beyond what I've already got.
Frankie the Fox, welcome along. How the devil are you, sir? Yeah, Ridsdale did have a bit of fun with a few clubs, didn't he? To say the least. From one club that's definitely in trouble to one club that might be in trouble. We're going to be looking at Man United straight after this.
Viewers, apologize. I'm continue.
Hi, Chris.
One sec, is that it? Can you hear me?
Me, yeah. Did you press the wrong button?
To be honest with you, God knows what I'm doing tonight. I'll tell you. Somehow I managed to mute myself, which a lot of people have said, carry on. I'll just say I do love that clip. It kind of sums up Man United at the moment, bless them. But, is it a case with Man United? Because I can remember Man United in the 70s when Liverpool were all domineering. They'd go out and buy a player because of who he was, not the fact that he would just fit into the system or he was the right player for them. It just basically to stop Liverpool buying. And they won nothing apart from the odd FA Cup. And they've got so many good players. And I said at the start of the season, should they not win something this season, then Ollie's got to go with the squad that he's got. He might not even last the season, though, mightn't he?
No, sort of looking, and I know the thing that's sort of really clear in our heads at the moment is obviously the game on Sunday, and it really just stood out like a sore thumb. And there were times when Liverpool were attacking, and you could see that they're playing this 4-2-3-1 Man United, but it left the top four not closing down, not tracking back, left the rest of the team bare. You don't see that with the Liverpool team. I've talked about Henderson before and Milner, who some people don't rate. I think maybe didn't rate 5 years ago. Have probably changed their opinions now, but they're like a vital cog in what makes Liverpool a fantastic team. And if you didn't have the Hendersons and the Milners and the Keita, who's just picked up some form, then they wouldn't be anywhere near as strong. They need that firm base, which they absolutely have. And I don't think Man United have got anything like a firm base. And I know, the back four looked wobbly on Sunday, but they didn't have a lot in front of them helping them out. And when you haven't, it doesn't matter how good you are. You're going to be exposed, and you're not going to be look or play at your best. And I think that's where they are right now.
I think a lot of clubs have, go through patches like this. Obviously, they do. I mean, but, if you look at sort of, say, Southampton losing to us 9-0 or even losing to Man United the following season 9-0, the fact that it's Man United, the fact that it's against Liverpool, which is, they see that more of a derby game than playing sort of Man City. And the fact, I just don't believe that, with the star players they've got, there's just so many, square pegs, and they're trying to put them into round holes, and it's just actually I think they've probably got too many, if you like, because you can't keep, you drop Ronaldo, he's not going to be happy. He's not going to be like a Patson Daka and say, oh, right, okay, I'll wait this game and what have you. And is Ollie the right man to manage all these what will be huge egos in the dressing room?
I think right now, I mean, they concede. They looked at the stats on Sunday, and all the defensive stats were like 20th in the league, and conceding first, which they do quite often. And that for me is the first thing. I mean, seasons or leagues are won on clean sheets, and not conceding goals at any level of football, and that's really the absolute where they should start now. But nothing changes. The back four doesn't change. You've got Fred and McTominay again in the middle of the park. The formation's not changed. He's not changed anything in the last, I don't know how many games it is. And then they're churning out similar results and similar performances. And I've said before that there is that much quality in the players that are on the pitch. Every now and then they'll turn it around on a sixpence just because they have got that. And maybe up against the Leicester team, I think last season, the amount of games they went behind and won, and Man U fans at the time wouldn't have batted an eyelid, but that's sort of led to where they are now, because the fact that you're conceding every week to any team in the league is a problem for me. That you can't defend properly, and the defending doesn't just mean the back four and the keeper; it's right through the team. And they've highlighted it so many times in the last few weeks. They did, particularly against us and again against Liverpool. The fact that they don't press together, they press as individuals. One presses, the ball's played past him. The next man's not there in time. So it's so easy to play through them, and they get stretched. And I was watching it on Sunday, and I was like literally not talking to myself, but thinking to myself, this is getting really awkward. It's embarrassing that Liverpool are seemingly walking through you, at will. And Henderson and Keita, unfortunately, Miller went off. They were absolutely running, that midfield with a couple of players that Solskjaer doesn't seem to want to drop. And I just don't understand his team selections.
I mean, I'm looking here now. I mean, they've scored 16, but they've conceded 15.
Exactly, that's straight away. That's for a team that thinks or wants to believe that they've got a chance of winning the league. To be conceding 15 at the same time scoring 16, you haven't got a prayer. You haven't got a chance of doing it. And that's, like I say, that. So right now, drawing board, training ground. After that, right, we do not concede this next game. What do we need to do? Is it personnel? Is it formation? Is it a bit of both? Do I need to change the way I'm doing it? Do I need to put someone different in front of the back four? Do I need to change the back four? They should be asking all these questions, but in all this time, like you've just said, they've conceded 50 goals. I haven't seen anything change every week.
No. Just to compare that, Chelsea have conceded 3, Liverpool 6, and Man City 4. Even West Ham have conceded 10, and say they've conceded 15. You've got Brentford have only let 9 in. Burnley, who are third from bottom with 4 points, have conceded 15, and it does kind of sum it up. But they have got you've got the most expensive centre back in the world in there. With Harry Maguire. I mean, do you think that the win over Atlanta probably just papered over the cracks? Because before that game, I've got to be honest with you, I had Liverpool down to beat them, and when they came back against Atlanta, I thought, they've got a bit of fight in them. Maybe it'll be a draw. But it probably, like I say, papered over the cracks. And like you say, Ronaldo probably was the saviour of that team. And that's probably what, like you've said before, that saved them more than tactical changes or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be going down 2-0 to Atlanta. It's as simple as that. If you're Man United, Man City, Chelsea, whoever you are, it shouldn't happen. And what you get in there is that you're sloppy, you're conceding goals, and then you get the reaction of the players. That reaction should start the minute they walk on the pitch. Or it shouldn't even be a reaction, it should be an action. And it's not. They're sort of getting stung into a retaliation. And that's not how it should be. And that's, for me, like it started last season, it's carried through to this season. And then for me, I know, if we're going to talk about it, is he the man for the job? I don't think so, because he's not changed it yet, and it's been going on for months and months and months. And I think, any other manager will be like, like I say, let's analyse it, what's going wrong. And the fact that he's, I talk about him every week, I think, Van der Beek, I feel so sorry for the lad, but the only saving grace is the cash he's earning for not doing a deal. But he's missed a season out of his career. He'll look back when he's retired and he can't be a professional footballer, and he'll just think, what a waste that was. Why did I sign there? Why didn't I try? And I've understood, I've read something today that he's changed his agent in frustration at wanting to leave. So, you might see something there, in the summer window. But why do you break your neck to pay? Was it 43 or 34? I always get that one the wrong way around. I think it's 43 million. And he's played a handful of games in like League Cups and games that don't mean anything. And that, again, I don't know what that does to a player when it's saying, I've paid all this money, but you're only playing in Carabao Cup for us, and against Scunthorpe Reserves or whoever it is. It must be so demoralising for him. And right now, he's crying for someone else in that position because. I quite like McTominay, but Fred's not been doing it for some time, and he was a passenger on Sunday, and he looked second rate. And you've got to change things up or do something different. And a manager that's not doing well, that doesn't do anything different, doesn't deserve to be in the job for me. No.
Ant there from Ant's Leicester fan channel. Good evenings to How the Devil Are You. Go over there and check them out. Another great Leicester channel. Who, just in case you've forgotten, and because you didn't know the other night, Monday night, 9:00, it's the Three Amigos. Ant's Leicester fan channel, Beyond the 90, and Leicester Till I Die. We'll be looking back at the month's action, shall we say, for Leicester City. Ollie's at the wheel. I mean, Rio Ferdinand must regret ever making those comments on the show. But as you said there, unfortunately, the MOT has failed. And Ant said there, we should give Van der Beek a loving home. I agree. I wouldn't turn it away. Yeah. Especially if unfortunately, Tielemans goes. But, as I look at Solskjaer, I'm thinking, like, he was brought in because Jose had basically lost the dressing room and they wanted him out. And they got him out, I think. And they brought Solskjaer in, and he had the most amazing turnaround that you could have imagined. It wasn't sort of a new manager, bump. It was a new manager, Mount Everest. They didn't lose for so many games. He got them winning again. But then they went and gave him this contract before he'd finished his temporary contract, and it all went wrong, and I think now he hasn't got that experience. And I think if it was anybody other than Solskjaer, who obviously is a hero at Man United for what he did, I think he would have been gone already.
Yeah, I mean, we never know 100% what happens behind closed doors, but it always seemed like when Mourinho was there, it was probably a tense atmosphere right across the training ground. There was that altercation with Pogba, which was made quite public. There was the thing with Luke Shaw, which was obviously extremely public. Mourinho made that public himself, and it looked like the atmosphere wouldn't have been fantastic. And for me, I think when Ollie came in, I think the biggest thing he will have done is relieve that atmosphere, turned it around, and the results would have come from that. But that's just like it's a bit like a reaction where an environment's got better and it perks everyone up a bit, and they go out and get a few results and get on a run. But then he gets the contract, and does he change as a manager now that all of a sudden, it's not this casual contract as it might have been. It's like this is it. I'm now the manager of Manchester United. Does he change the way he does things because he now realises the pressure that he's under and what he's got to do with this team? He sort of came on a bit of a sabbatical, a bit of a it was a holiday job for a short time, wasn't it? And he came in, made everyone laugh, changed the mood. Everyone was happy. Goals were going in. They were winning games. Brilliant job done. But then when you sign on the dotted line in the real contracts, and it's a totally different animal, as we've seen. David Moyes go there, Mourinho go there, and others, and they found it a big task, especially after the reign of Sir Alex Ferguson. So I look on the side of the pitch on Sunday, and I don't see him offering a lot. I don't, he's shaking his head and tutting, and I don't see him directing his players or changing things about. The interview afterwards, I thought, was awful. There's no real excuse, and they should have won more headers, and they should have done this, and and we're all going to stick together. It's just, that's a 1980s team talk. That so.
It's almost a standard talk that managers give when they are in trouble, isn't it?
It is. There's a lot of cliches in there, and it's then we can look back at his previous record and didn't do well at Cardiff, but gets the Man U job. He did well at Molde, fair enough, but that's a different entity to any league in England.
It is. And somebody said the other day on the show, but look what he did. Molde hadn't done this, blah blah blah. But it's Molde in the Norwegian league. It is a different kettle of fish. They took a chance on him, but like I say, what business makes the decision when he's doing well, but you've got him on a contract to the end of the season, so let that contract run till the end of the season, because he wasn't going to go anywhere else if it was going well. But you don't need sense or any business acumen to run a football club, do you? Ant says here the fans won't turn on him because he's Ole, Man United legend. To be honest with you, you'll be surprised. And I'm hearing as many Man United fans turning on Ole now as Arsenal fans turning on Arteta. So they could form a little group together. When he came in as a proper manager, it was the players putting a shift in to put two fingers up to Jose. Yeah, I mean, there's so much there. But anyway, I don't think he'll be there at the end of the season. And I thought if he didn't win anything, he'd be gone then. But I don't think he's gonna last. So we're just going to finish very quickly. We're going to keep it to one question, if that's okay, Julian, because I'm just watching the time now, and we've been on I did have the unplanned break in the middle. I'm going to have to go and try and edit out later. But Terry, right at the start of the evening, put this question. So as he was in first, I'll pick this one. Here's my question for Julian tonight. Did a must-win match, like a cup game, affect your sleep before or after such a game? I.e. nerves before a game and adrenaline rush if a big win after the game?
Good question, Terry. I think that's definitely different for each player. Each player handles, stuff differently. I know before every single game I'd be nervous, but that turned into like a good energy when I got on the pitch. It didn't leave you, but it just put you on such an edge that you needed to be in when you were on the pitch. So, before the game, I'd be like panicking, worried. I hope I have a good game. So I used to worry about stuff like that. But that turned good. And, the biggest one of all was obviously the playoff final when my stomach was in absolute knots. I've never felt nerves quite like it. And I've got a really good picture of me walking out and it looks like I need to go to the toilet. So, very, very, very tense times they were, but you got on the pitch and the whistle, and this is just me personally, so everybody's different. But personally, that whistle went, and then you were into the game, and you had a few touches, and then that was it. You were in game mode, and like I say, some people are different. Some people didn't even get the nerves; they just had that real mental confidence in themselves that they knew they had the right to be on that pitch, and they were just going to go and perform again. So everyone's different, but yeah. Not the night before, never affected my sleep, but definitely on the day of the game, morning, you'd go down for breakfast, you'd be starting to think about the game, the pre-match meal at 12 o'clock, and then you're sort of nearly in it, getting on the bus to the ground from wherever you are. And that's when it just starts to build up towards that, 3 o'clock kickoff. But for me, when it started, more often than not, I was okay.
And you didn't have any adrenaline rush after if you won a game because you were normally too drunk to worry about the adrenaline rush.
And that, it's so true. It wasn't adrenaline. It was pure joy. But the great thing that we had, and I've told you before about how tight we were as a group, and it was that thing. It was like we'd have beers on the bus. We'd be in the players' lounge wherever we were, home or away. Having a beer, celebrating, and more often than not on the away games. And this is when we were on the great run in the championship. We'd be out for a few beers when we got home. Mrs. would take the car home and we'd be out in the town and we'd probably have the day off the next day. So, not right for the modern day footballer, but it really, really sort of worked for us. It galvanized us. And, that spirit that we had in that team, it's something I'll never forget. I don't think any of the players will. We were just unbelievably tight and you could feel that when we played on the pitch. And, there was never any backbiting, not getting on at each other. It was all encouragement and helping people out. And, it was a fantastic time.
Or what we like to say after tonight's show, doing a razor.
Yeah.
When you bless him, when you were out though, did you ever get sort of drinking? Were you ever? I mean, these days it's different. You've got to be careful what you do because of phones with cameras and everything, and or even Mr. Scholes if you were doing anything with your daughter, which I heard about today. Craig said earlier something about Paul Scholes off count, and I'm thinking, like, what are you on about? And I can't believe it. But that's for another show after midnight. Allegedly. But I mean, were you ever sort of bothered by the fans, or did they just leave you alone? Or
no, it's another great thing about Leicester as a club. No, they were great. It was like they'd come up, they might buy you a beer, they might want to talk to you for 5 minutes, and then they'd leave you alone. You never got bombarded. And I know it's changed a lot since then, and probably we wouldn't be out in Simpkins till all hours. These days, if we were in the first team, as we were then. But we'd go to a club and it was just general people there, and never got bothered, never got into any trouble. Always had a laugh. Bouncers were always great with us, and it was just. And again, it just carried on. The atmosphere in the city was great. Right through that period, and obviously getting into the Premier League. And I think we won the rugby league that year, the league in the rugby union. We won the cricket. That everything about Leicester at the time was fantastic, and we were quite an underdoggy, quite kind of team. So we're probably perceived as overachieving, which we love. That we love being the underdogs in every game we played because we could always fight and scrap, and we did have a bit of quality on top as well. So I just think with everyone in the town, they'd be pleased to see us out. We'd be you're all right, lads, and all that. And it was just a wonderful atmosphere.
I'm just going to sneak this quick one in if I can, because David's just come in and it just relates to something you were saying before about Ollie. Oops, wrong one. Here we go. Terry's not here next week. Thank you, Terry, for popping in. Look after the missus and the dog. I have to make that distinction now because I got into trouble. Thanks for joining us, your question. But David says, do any of the players look over to the manager on the sidelines for signals during the game as a habit, or are they too engrossed in the game? Do they listen to the shouting of the manager or even hear it? Just going from what you said about Ollie not doing anything on the side of the pitch. I mean, you could avoid Martin O'Neill, could you?
I'm going to say, I think Martin and Ollie are absolutely 180 degrees away from each other. So I think we all know how animated Martin got. I think with myself, if you made a mistake, you knew he'd be ranting at you and you'd probably look over him, but never really looked over him. You just can't hear them. You really can't hear them. And you'll find most of the time, I mean, I know they take the mickey sometimes these days when a player comes on as a sub and he takes some notepaper on and he passes it on to someone. But that, you literally can't be heard. And you'll see players or captain run over to the sideline, speak to the manager, gives his instructions. He'll then go and relay them out to as many people as he can. But in them days, and the other thing is sometimes if you did, drop a bollock, you'd probably not want to look at the manager because you knew he'd be berating you. So you deliberately look the other way and point to someone and tell them to mark him tight and hopefully it just pass. But no, you can't really hear them, to be honest. And there are a few occasions where you could, but it wasn't something for me personally. It was just sort of getting on the game, and there was that much chat on the pitch between us as players. We were a very vocal team. Lennon, Claridge, Walshy, myself, Simon Grayson. There was a lot of chat on that pitch, and we sort of kept each other going.
And was it nice playing on the other side to the manager? Did you say I've dropped a bollock, I'm going to go over and play on the other side of the pitch now?
I didn't often have that luxury, so no. It was one of those. But no, I mean it was a tough taskmaster, Martin. He'd pick up on every last tiny mistakes that you'd forgotten about that you didn't even think were significant. But at half time and after the game, he'd always remind you, so you knew exactly where you stood with him.
I bet you would. Julian, thank you so much for joining us again. And apologies, like I say, for the technical gremlins earlier that threw a spanner in the works. But as always, it's great to hear somebody talking about football that knows what they're talking about. Makes a change on this channel.
If you could just edit that bit out where I'm just staring at the camera for about 2 minutes, that'd be fantastic.
Oh no, I actually did that for the old Conservative Women's Association. they did just want a couple of minutes where they could just stare at you.
Yeah. No worries, mate.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Julian. And
we'll
see you next week. All the best. Stay safe. All the best to your family. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Oh, thanks very much for Julian. He did get dropped in it a little bit. I don't know. Terry did say that another channel was having problems with StreamYard earlier. Of course, this is run through StreamYard. Is that, in fact, it was my gremlin here, my little gremlin behind me that was causing trouble. Terry the Troll, that's what his name is. So unfortunately, yes, he was left staring at the screen for a long time. Hey, don't forget, we were on a lot this week. On Thursday, though, as well as having a new quiz, we've got the Prediction League show. This week, we've got Mark Selby. Yeah, indeed, potting a few balls. He knows all about that. Getting the ball in the net, a different ball in a different net. Probably a lot harder to get his balls in his net, if you see what I mean, in the nicest possible way. It's a little bit smaller, aren't they? He will not be joining us himself on Thursday, but he obviously is busy, but he has sent us in his predictions. So we're looking forward to that. Great guy, and it was really, really nice of him to do that. We're going to be back tomorrow with the post-match show. That will be coming up at about 10:30 tomorrow, so don't miss that out. And don't forget, check out the BBC Leicester City homepage, and you will see my thoughts for Tuesday, and that's what they call it. And I've written today's has just gone live this morning. Thanks very much. Thanks for putting up with us. Thanks for sticking with us through the mistakes and through the errors earlier. It's been one of those nights tonight. Two shows tonight. This was the sloppy seconds one, and we had problems with both of them. Guys, thank you so much. And we will see you tomorrow at 10:30. Take care. Stay safe. All the best now.
That's all, folks. Hello, Matt Elliott here. Be sure to watch Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and follow all their social media platforms for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Watch us on YouTube.
Listen on your favourite podcast platform.
Or ask your smart speaker
To play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Subscribe, like, follow, and join in now.